Welcome to the Astoria Film Festival Step and Repeat interviews. Today we speak about the documentary web series Women, directed by Geneva Peschka and co-directors Ushshi, Kelly Teacher, and Samantha Panger.
The piece speaks to so many different, it's so intersectional that it's beautiful that way. The activism is very all-encompassing, which is nice because it's rare that you see that happen all in one piece.
Truly, I think one of my favorite parts was not just, like I do front-facing stuff and it's nice, but I think what was great about Geneva was she involved so many of us, not just to be front-facing, but in turn empowered us to autonomously explore parts of media. Like I got to direct one of my best friends, my sister, in this and give her a voice in turn too. So it was very much it was almost like even though it's her project and her brainchild, she made sure we all felt like it was like a relay race and we all got past the baton a bit. And I think there's something so beautiful and interactive about that in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, Geneva was like, I think that she did such an amazing job with the concept that like the concept was there and then she stepped back for like so much to let everyone else really like figure out what it is like within each smaller story.
Yeah, Geneva definitely encouraged us every step of the way to like direct this. Okay, you're executive producing this. Giving this like so much responsibility in this beautiful project that she put together, and you just like come into that and you just need to do a good job.
And she asked me to come on board. It felt like the perfect time. And it was nice, even though it's so much her vision, just like being a part of it felt like being part of this team. And I didn't realize how much I would enjoy that in filmmaking. I think a lot of us who are like more self-directed or like work solo, we forget like how much being part of a team makes a project what it is.
That's awesome. Kelly, how did you get into filmmaking?
Well, like Sam, I went to film school. I went to USC in Southern California. I started working at Teen Vogue as a video producer and editor. And before that I had done like music, I had directed music videos and worked on some tour documentaries. My documentary has been put on quite a pause because it requires a lot of international travel, but I've been following a whale conservationist who is trying to change shipping lanes around the world to save the critically endangered blue whale, along with a lot of other whales that die accidentally from large ships that cross their feeding grounds basically and run them over like roadkill.
I'm doing I do a lot of things, but the book I started, it's been in conceptualization for a while. There's been a few I'm working on, but in November I started very seriously writing a book, what started out to be sort of an intro and a primer to psychedelics and that experience, and sort of like a part memoir, part philosophy, part, call to action for both the decriminalization and the use of psychedelics in mental health for the future. And then 2020 happened. And so it became quickly from I'm writing a book on psychedelics to I'm writing a book about the time and this year. I look at my life sometimes this year and I'm like, this is surreal. I feel like I'm living in a movie. So it's a good thing to write about, but I also think there are so many perspectives to this time, and history is going to tell it in so many different ways that it feels very imperative that I take a take on it and this particular perspective on it. So that's sort of what the book has turned into, but psychedelics are still in there. So we'll see.
I would assume that during this time, psychedelics are more important than ever for mental health.
I would go within.
Geneva, what are you up to these days?
I just launched the Women series actually as a podcast.
Oh, I did. I saw that. Yes.
Woo. So I'm excited about that just because I think, well, so many different ways it's going to be more accessible to people, but then also it's a completely different experience than visuals. And And of course, the series is about representation and making sure that more people have their incredible stories seen and heard. That has just been now released in an audio format podcast, so it's on Apple, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Casts, and we'll be expanding also at some point. I am just wrapping up a commercial campaign that I'm directing, and which is exciting, and I have another series in the works.
What are you up to these days?
Well, as she said, mainly contending with my own mortality. But I do think, well, about this time last year, I officially moved out of New York, which was, I mean, it takes you like a year to get over it, I think.
Where are you now?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So kind of, growing new roots, and I was really planning on traveling a lot this year, so I'm not really sure what I want to say yet. I'm still getting used to like a new environment, but
That's hard. That's hard even without a pandemic.
yeah. I did start a small business though, small scale plastics recycling.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of exciting. It at least gives my hands something to do, because I was going crazy not having like one thing to like keep some RAM occupied or whatever.
Fortunate in that my background really geared me for a time like this. Like, I'm from Bangladesh. I'm the first generation after the war. I come from, family of revolutionaries, of, serious hardcore political oppression. Life or death is very different over there than it is here. And it's part of why I moved to America, to like be free, from all of that. And then this hit. And I think it was one of those moments where I realized, with all due respect, I love this country, love its people, but the fragility of Americans.
Yep.
It was really evident as to how my folks back home, and my dad's on dialysis, he's a patient, he goes to the hospital like several times a week, we're handling it versus folks here, we're handling it. And it sucks that we have like a desensitization to death and destruction and life forces beyond our control. But I also think like once you make peace with that, not shut it off, not be so stoic to the point of where you don't feel people's pain. But I think once you both make room for that and understand that it is what it is, and to be present with it, it's not as hard.
No, absolutely. I have a friend, we were both freaking out together. We'd go for walks, masked, distanced walks. And, and she said, well, you seem better today. What happened? I said, well, I accepted the fact that I may die. And she was like, well, that's horrible. And I said, no, because it's okay. Like, it's okay. We're all going to die eventually. If I accept the fact that we may die, and I'm okay with that, I can then live, right? And I'm not constantly just terrified of dying. And she was like, that's way too morbid. I was like, all right, that's how my brain is handling this. I'm not preaching that that's what you need to do, but it sounds similar to what you're saying, like you have to come to terms with it.
Handling my own mortality is not a thing. Like, I've made peace with death since I was a kid, but people I love though, that's a lot harder. Sure. It's Ushshi, Instagram, USHSHI.
Cool. Geneva?
My Instagram is Geneva, but it's spelled Gneva. And you can go to my website as well, which is www.genevapeschka.com. And you could also go to the Women Series website, which is www.womendocseries.com. And there's you can actually see the series information is there, the team information is there. So if you want to know more about each of the people who contributed to the project, their bios are there. And for anyone who has a website, I've also included the link there, so you can also learn more about them as well.
Perfect. Samantha?
Yeah, you can reach me through my website at www.samanthapangar.com.
And Kelly?
Yeah, I think my website's probably the best as well. It's my name, Kelly, Kelly, teacher, like a school teacher.com.
for me, this was like one of the most enriching and expansive experiences, and that's because we did it together. Like, we all did this, right?